Cue the music.
Oh, that's going to be so much better when it's our song and not that free StreamYard song.
That wasn't our song?
No, that unfortunately that was not our song.
Huh.
But anyways, welcome to another episode of Show Boys. My name is Mike, and I'm joined by my wonderful friend Nick over there, our co-host, for a very special episode. The first ever live stream of the Show Boys. So if you're watching, thank you. If you're not, don't worry, because we're uploading the audio version on Monday, which you're probably listening to if you aren't watching the live stream. So you probably already found that out. Anyways, we are joined by some friends, very special guests, Tom and Brian from the Be Hero Fights podcast. Welcome, guys. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good. Yeah. Happy to hear that you guys will be doing this in the audio, so we won't have the lag on the audio end.
Yes. No worries, no fears. Everything will be great.
It is a podcast. Audio is the most important part.
Exactly. Right. We wanted to have you on, just kind of interview you guys, learn a little more about Be Hero Media and your podcast, Be Hero Fights. I had a lot of fun on the episode that you guys invited me on. I think it was back in October or somewhere around there, debating about Nightmare Before Christmas.
I think we recorded it in like mid-November.
Yeah, I think it was November.
Yeah, I think it was our first December episode.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible person for not remembering that, but it was super fun. And ever since then, Tom and I have kind of stayed in contact, chatting with each other, and we're just glad that you guys are able to join us.
Yeah, we're happy to be here.
Totally.
We've been really enjoying ourselves, just like all the interaction we've got, building connections with other podcasters like yourself. It's been a really good experience so far for us, and
Yeah, definitely. I mean, ourselves, we just started doing a video version of our podcast as well, so this is definitely going to be a fun thing to do with you guys.
Yeah. So, how are you doing tonight, Nick?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah.
Trying out all the new gadgets here. It's always fun getting a webcam in 24 hours. Thank you, Amazon. So
yes, I enjoy your fireplace.
Thank you.
Cozy over there.
Yes.
Hope it's warm. But,
keeps it warm and toasty in the cold basement. Yeah.
So, Tom, Brian.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about Be Hero.
Long story, I guess. Be Hero was actually something that I had an idea for back in 2013. My initial idea was to just create public events, like try and compete with Spartan Race and make like a superhero-themed obstacle course. Being at the time, I had just graduated from the community college with an associate's degree, so I had no money. I also had just gotten married and had a kid on the way, so it was like I didn't have resources to do any of that. So really, all I did was write blog articles for, at the time, like Arrow TV show and The Flash. It was pretty silly. Did that for probably about 2 years, and then kind of lost steam, lost momentum. Tried to resurrect it again with another friend about 3 years ago. Same thing. But at both times I started this, I made shirts, 20 shirts, and I still have about 10 of each kind.
Nice.
And then I got a job as a software developer working with Brian. And Brian, for those that don't know, he's a professional wrestler.
Yep.
And had started a podcast with the wrestling community here in Utah. And I had just told him about an idea that I had kicking around. It was actually unrelated to Be Hero. It was just I just wanted to make a debate podcast, just debating two topics. I was a big fan of Screen Junkies and their movie fights, but I didn't like how their episodes were 2 to 3 hours long and how they didn't really spend enough time on the topics, I felt like. So I really want to just like take one to two topics, and just dive deep and just pit things against each other. And I like the idea of just very relatable things, remakes, sequels. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah, and so it's been just kind of a fun journey from there. Brian has honestly the best business partner that a person could ever have.
I'll pay you later.
Nice. I apologize for my fireplace rudely interrupting us with an ad.
How dare
for
it?
HelloFresh. I mean,
Even fireplaces have ads.
Yeah, this world is out of
you just
control.
you can't escape it these days. It's awful.
It's true.
Seriously.
And it's all self-targeted right to you, all about, what you need for your HelloFresh needs.
We complained as we advertised ourselves on someone else's podcast.
Right?
Yeah, man.
At least they asked, or we asked for consent. I mean, the HelloFresh ass just, popped in.
That's true.
Yes. Terrible hosting. But no, that's really cool though. So you and Brian met through your software developing job, you were saying?
Yeah. We hired him on 2 years ago?
It's been actually a little. Has it been 2 years?
I think it's been about 2 years.
Yeah, it's been.
So we hired him on about 2 years ago because our team was expanding, and I'm the senior developer on our team, so it was my job to make fun of him. And
Naturally.
yes, and
I thought I didn't know that he was like jovial. I just thought he was an asshole for the longest time.
see, my secret is I'm both. But
That's how it feels about Mike.
yeah. But yeah, we hired him on. Initially, actually, I didn't want to hire him. I didn't think it was going to be a good fit for the team because we were so jokey as a team, and we all like to joke around. And I constantly make the joke that I'm one bad joke away from an HR meeting, and I didn't think he was going to go with it because he had the look of a returned missionary from the LDS church.
Which
I mean, to be fair, he is, but he's no longer part of the church. So,
I mean, how are you supposed to dress for a job interview? They always say dress in a white shirt and tie. I've never heard anyone say other.
I mean, this is true.
That's how you
But-
wear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Touche.
That's kind of funny though, because actually Nick and I work together, and
Yeah.
that's kind of how Showboys was born in a roundabout way. It's funny, but like, what kind of brought Be Hero into conversation between you two?
Honestly, it was work at work because as coders we totally don't have a ton of work to have to do all the time, and so we were joking around, and it started off I wasn't sure where he was, so it was very much like filler jokes, like feeler jokes to find out where he was at, and then I realized that he's got worse jokes than I do sometimes. And
like we have a really interesting dynamic with our team. When I started, there was 5 of us, and like Brian was by far kind of the leader of the pack, just like the really outgoing one. There's 2 other guys, John and Tanner, who are really mellow. Tanner is hilarious, just because he likes to poke Brian in the oddest of ways.
he's the
John,
he's the perfect example of internet troll.
Yeah, Tanner
So.
is like he reminds me so much of what's the character in Superbad? Not Mike.
McLovin.
But like not dirty. Just very similar to that.
I can see that actually.
And then John is just so quiet. Like I don't think I actually heard a word that he said for the first 6 months I worked there. And I just like was wondering how in the hell anyone understood what he was talking about. I was like, you all just lip reading?
Well, that's how I normally listen to people anyways, but
like every morning we would sit there and banter for probably 30 minutes to an hour, usually about movies and TV shows that we'd seen the night before or the weekend or something. And like, so yeah, we had a lot of good conversations, plenty of debates just over that. And then when I heard that he had his wrestling podcast, I was like, we talk about movies all day.
right?
I want to debate movies for the podcast. You already have a podcast. Like, you have the know-how and I have the topics. Let's do this.
That's right. And that's just flourished from there.
Yeah.
Nice. So how long has Be Hero been around?
So the podcast we started in June.
Yeah.
Pretty much every week. There's been a couple weeks that we've had to take off. There was the 1 week where I made that Ghouls episode. That was I'm sure I'll make another one eventually.
Right.
But yeah, I think we've only missed 1 or 2 weeks since June.
I think that's the only week we've missed.
I think there was one that we didn't even like have a filler for. I think it was when no, it wasn't when I think it was when I had that really bad case of like bronchitis or pneumonia or something back in like October. I think there was 1 week, but 1 week where there technically wasn't a release. And we really enjoy it. Really the hardest part, since we're both like have families. I'm a single dad, 2 kids, full-time parent. He's a loving husband with 2 kids, full-time parent.
Let's not go as far as saying loving, okay? But I am a husband.
He's a dick.
In addition to that, though, I also got I still am an active pro wrestler, and so I have to work around my wrestling engagements and everything else I have to do.
Yeah, that's it's sometimes there are not enough hours in the day.
So true.
Yeah, so you've been around since June, and you guys have been debating stuff for pretty much 2 years working together.
Yep.
So I guess that answers my next question of where the like debate style of your episodes kind of comes into play. But like, who is the better debater?
Absolutely me. Brian pulls all the cheap shots. I at least research that. Brian just pulls everything out of his ass.
I've noticed that a lot of times the guests that you have on are Brian's friends, and I don't feel like that's fair.
Honestly, it's just because I have more friends. So, but yeah, our dynamic is pretty simple. Tom is the one that does all the homework and everything, and I'm the one that does everything on the fly, and I often win. So
I think you've actually almost caught up. I think I've got 11 wins. You've got 10. And then we have, I guess we're waiting for results on this last episode that we dropped.
Yeah.
So
your wrestling episode?
Yep.
Yeah.
Who
do you think won?
It's tough. They both make very valid points.
It's true. That's why it became a draw to the moment.
I agree with that conclusion. And you should definitely leave it up to your fans. Because I don't want to get on the wrong side of one of you tonight until maybe at the end of the episode I'll get off the fence. But so what's been your favorite topic to debate so far? Your favorite episode?
That's a good question.
I bet it's probably the Nightmare Before Christmas episode. Maybe.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. Sure. That was it. Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely top 2.
Honestly, we've had a lot of great episodes. I don't know if I have a favorite one. I very much.
He has a least favorite.
Yes, I have a least favorite,
and it was the one that I was most excited about.
I know.
It's actually okay. So I came up with this idea, like again, completely separate from Be Hero. And I wanted to create a podcast. I wanted to debate movies, and I came up with this idea about 3 years ago while I was watching A Bug's Life. No, I was watching Three Amigos. I was watching that and I realized that it is the exact same story as A Bug's Life.
That's funny.
I was like, how has no one caught on to this? This needs we need to debate this, and people need to decide who did it better. And that's actually how I came up with the idea. And so I was so excited to do this episode. And Brian was like, "Yeah, both these movies kind of suck." What the fuck, man?
I didn't say they sucked. I said they were forgettable. I literally watched like one of them that day to make sure I was fresh with it, and I still can remember everything about that movie. Anything about that movie, hardly. I mean, don't get me wrong. Both movies are funny in the moment, but you know, depending on how much weed you're smoking, anything is funny in the moment. So,
that's great. I think the first episode of your show that I listened to was Del Taco versus Taco Bell. And I mean, you had me at anything Taco Bell. Like Nick knows that I basically, my blood is pretty much, runs on the chicken quesadilla sauce, whatever that is.
Their jalapeno sauce.
Yes. Oh, so good. But yeah, that was a pretty fun introduction to your show for sure. But you don't. What, Tom? You got to pick a favorite. What's been your favorite? You said the Bugs Life Three Amigos.
No, because Brian gave up.
I ruined that one for him.
He was most excited for that one.
I was most excited, and then Brian was just not. He wasn't. He phoned it in.
Phoning it in would have actually been a plus. Literally, the debate consisted of whether these movies were actually watchable or not whether they were like debating between the movies.
I would say, I don't know. We've had a lot of really fun episodes. The Lethal Weapon Die Hard one, I think might be, the most fun that I had.
Really?
I think a close second was Beer versus Champagne with the Game of Wines podcast.
That one was fun.
That one was a lot of fun. But the reason why that one doesn't win it for me is I lost, and I did lose Lethal Weapon as well. But I remember at the end of the Beer versus Champagne was when I finally caught my steam. I was like, oh yeah, I had this idea, and I started spewing off ideas, but it was my final thoughts, and so it was almost too late.
Yeah.
It was fun though. It was a good episode.
Nice. Brian, you got it. You have to pick one.
Oh man. Not the pander. I really did enjoy that Nightmare Before Christmas one with you. That was really fun. But that one's definitely top up there for me.
It's one of our top listened to episodes as well.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Fancy.
Yeah. It's all Mike. It was all Mike.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you gave that one to me because you literally could have just started with the director said it was a Halloween movie.
That's true.
The episode would have just been over.
But yeah, if we come out with a guaranteed win right there, where's the fun? Where's the drama? Where's the debate?
True.
I don't know. I've had so many fun ones. I don't know if I can pick one. I do know what I'm excited for though.
Ooh, do tell.
So coming up soon.
Is this an exclusive teaser?
This is an exclusive teaser. Coming up soon, we're actually going to be doing a Joker tournament. So
Battle Royale.
Yeah, it's a battle royale tournament. So it'll be a 3-episode part. So it'll be a 4-on-4, 2 4-on-4 episodes, and then a head-to-head of which one was the best Joker. So yeah, it's gonna be great, and I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, there's been 8 actors that have played the Joker in the history of Batman. And so we thought it'd be really fun. 4 of them are definitely more lighthearted. 4 of them are much darker. So we're gonna do a battle royale, 4 people, 1 for each Joker with the lighthearted, and then the dark ones, and then the winner of each is gonna go head to head. That one, yeah, I'm super
excited for too. Yeah,
that's a solid lineup. That's a good format. I like that.
Yeah,
I feel bad for whoever has to argue on behalf of Jared Leto.
Honestly, I would rather have Jared Leto, Then Cameron
Monaghan.
Yeah.
Cameron Monaghan knocked it out of the park, though, bro. I mean, not only did he do one Joker, he did 2 separate Jokers in Gotham.
But I hate everything about that show.
Literally a preview of the episode right now.
That's right. Oh yeah. I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to ruin any points or anything. That's great. So obviously you're going to have, some guests on the show.
For sure.
Yeah, we are. We're actually still looking. We need 4 more guests.
There you go. Anyone listening who is well versed in the Joker and feels like debating these Jokers, send us a message and we'll send them a message. No.
Actually, you can hit us up right here on the BeHeroMedia.com. You got it posted for us. We have a section called the Suggest Box where you can actually reach out to us and ask to be a judge or a fighter or even suggestions about an episode.
There you go. It's up on the screen. Sorry for all of you audio only people on Monday, but I'll make sure to throw your website in our episode description so you guys can go check it out. Now, this may sound like I'm asking this, leading question here, but I promise I'm not. excluding the obvious answer, who's been your favorite guest that you've had on, either as a judge or a contestant? I mean, I'm not looking for,
It's totally Nick.
No, but I mean, you've had sorry, Be Hero guests that I don't remember the names of, but in your George St. Pierre versus Randy Couture episode, the fellow arguing on behalf of GSP, I thought he was great. He was a really cool guest. The fellow you had on for the Independent versus Pro Wrestling was a really good guest.
Yep.
So I'm asking you to basically pick your favorite child right now.
Oh
God.
In the presence of one. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, of course, Mike's the number one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
No.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard because I have.
Mike's aside.
Yeah. What are you trying to say?
But we're podcasting. It's microphones.
Oh, yeah.
Dad joke.
Definitely a dad joke.
For all the dads out there. I don't know. Like we've had some really good guests. I think for me, like I am gonna say this, and I'm not bullshitting. You definitely surprised me, Mike. You did a lot. Like not that I didn't think you were gonna do good, but I think you were our first guest, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you were our first guest, and
the first guest over the phone, or first guest that was actually somewhat known outside of like our friends.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because we'd had like guest judges and stuff. But as far as like guest fighters, you really surprised me because that same day we had another guest on for another episode who was also really good. But like I remember being really impressed by your knowledge and how prepared you were.
He literally came out and said it's called A Nightmare Before Christmas and walked away. That was literally his mic drop.
Yeah. There were so many ways you could have dropped the mic, but you didn't, and he did.
I know.
He beat you there.
I know.
He's like, I want to make this entertaining and long and good, and then Mike just drops it.
I'm just in there for the joke. I play to win. No, I'm just kidding.
Mike does his research, though. You should see his notes sometimes.
Yeah, it's pretty sad, I guess. But I mean, Nightmare Before Christmas is just something that I thoroughly enjoy. So that was a fun episode to do.
Yeah,
and just gave me a reason to talk about something I enjoy.
Thank you go for our October series. You're getting in the zone.
Oh, that's right.
I just remembered we did have a couple guests before, but I remember you were the first one that wowed me because we had Angela on for Freddy Krueger.
Well, that's what I said. The one's with a friend.
That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, from other podcasts.
Yeah.
But yeah, details, right? What are I would say, like I said, you definitely impressed me. And And I haven't been that impressed, and actually until Danilo came on for the Renico versus GSP. Because I've worked with Danilo, and I said this on that episode. Like I knew him. He actually was the one who tried to help me revive Be Hero about 3 years ago, and didn't end up working out. And, right as the king. And like he's got such a dry personality, and it worked perfectly.
Oh yeah, it was really funny.
I couldn't keep up. Like every time I thought I had something to say, he just had this perfect one-liner to shut me up.
One-liner. He went on for like 30 minutes talking about Jean-Claude Van Damme.
That's true.
We were both arguing over that, but, it was relevant.
I mean, it gave me a great reason to put the meme of Jean-Claude Van Damme dancing in it, but
he did a really great job. I really enjoyed listening to him for sure.
Oh yeah. It's really fun. I mean, again, you were our first Mike. But,
the first child's the favorite child,
right? But like that same night we had Scott from SB Nation. We've also had on the whole team. Like we literally had the team from the Game of Wines fight on behalf as one group fight against one of us.
Yeah, 3-on-1.
Yeah, and totally thrashed him. It was great.
Nice.
So we've had several guests, and of course, several of them have been my friends, as previously mentioned. Some were like some of my best friends. One was the guy who trained me in wrestling. One's my former tag partner in wrestling. Our kids have been on here, as you can tell. They've been great. So
I will be right.
don't worry, I got this. But yeah, no, like we've had so many great people on. It's hard to choose one. Let's see, man.
So
Yeah,
my wife, she just decided to comment in asking me, Mike, do you have a fireplace screensaver going on in the background? I'm so done with you. Yes.
When they bonk their heads. Am I right?
Yeah, right.
I had to match Nick's really cozy looking fireplace right there.
Oh, I thought she was trying to tell you that it was over and you're getting a divorce over the Skype thing.
They are.
I mean, that's definitely a possibility.
You can do better, Rebecca.
No.
I mean, I can't argue with that. Chalk up
least she's
another
watching.
victory for Brian.
But yeah, I mean, I think I probably have to go with the Game of Wines, though. Nothing against Mike. If we take Mike out of the picture, a Game of Wines would probably be the one I go with.
I'm not even on in the same book.
The guys from Game of Wines was great. They had a great fight, and it was all of them. So it was a great way to go.
Yeah.
Which means, next time we have to have both Mike and Nick on our episode, right?
There you go.
Yeah. So
We're going to have to get another podcast to judge us against you guys.
totally down for this.
I like
doable.
that idea. You just got to pick something that Nick knows a lot about so he can carry me.
Fireplaces?
Fireplaces, Star Wars.
Oh, I'm down. Let's do Star Wars.
Dogs. I don't know. Your dog is a husky, right? Or is it a Malamute? What's Hobbs?
He's a husky lab.
There you go. See, I would totally need carried there.
Just debate dog breeds.
Oh yeah.
English bulldog all the way.
My wife has a Chiweenie.
That's a very interesting combination.
Yes, a Chihuahua Dachshund mix.
That's a new one.
Yes.
Wow.
I have a very non-appropriate story about this, actually.
Yeah.
Do tell.
All right. So when we acquired this dog, we got it from a friend of a friend. And the person we were getting it from as a puppy, let's say their intelligence is not very high. And when we acquired this dog, we were being told it was a female. And I'm holding this puppy when we get it in my arms, upside down. And I look down and recognize a certain appendage that does not generally belong on a female. And I informed my wife, I don't think this is a female because that is a winky right there. And she agreed with me. And for the longest time, we would be making the joke that our dog has an identity crisis. It started off as a female.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, are you just gonna assume it's gender?
Wow, Brian.
There's more. There's more. So, a couple weeks ago, we took the dog in to go get its shots and everything else. And being that it's COVID, you can't go in places. So my wife is out in the car while the veterinary assistant comes out and grabs the dog and takes him in, and brings the dog back out. And the whole time, the veterinary assistant talking to my wife kept referring to the dog as a her. And my wife finally corrects her and goes, "Oh, it's a boy." And she goes, No, it's a girl." And my wife's like, "What?" Because, there's a winky right there. And she's like, "No, turns out Chiweenies are a very special breed. You generally have to go get them checked by a veterinarian to find out their gender because most females have an oversized clitoris that generally look like a winky."
Wow.
So my dog has a full identity crisis. We bought a ton of stuff thinking it was a boy, and now we're having to convert it back to being a girl.
Wow.
Not that the dog cares at all, by the way. My wife does.
You guys are having the identity crisis.
That definitely is the best dog story I've ever heard in my life.
all those dogs have that issue, or not issue?
It's very common.
Wow.
It's very common because it's a mixture. Apparently, the boys also have a smaller sized genitalia as well, so it's often hard to tell until they get older what they are.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Interesting. And there you have it. So
now we know so much about Chiweenies.
if you tuned into Showboys to learn about the genitalia of Chiweenies,
You came to the right place.
Right.
yeah, you came to the right place, and you learned some things. Wow, speechless.
It's a good way to go with the podcast.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Well, Nick, do you have any questions for the guys, or?
Nah, you lined them up pretty good. You guys live in Utah?
Yeah, sadly.
I was gonna. Okay, that answers my next question. How do you enjoy Utah?
Joy, what is this?
Actually, it's a relative thing. Like
Okay.
Utah on its own is beautiful. Like if you love nature, it's pretty much got every season available to you. We're technically considered a desert area because the majority of us is desert, but we have mountains, we have tons of lakes to go fishing, and I love going fishing. We get snow, but we also have dry seasons where we have these long periods of heat and everything else. In fact, there's a running joke in Utah: if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes because it changes so often.
It's a running joke literally everywhere.
It's like a higher altitude.
Dude, when I lived in California, nothing. Like Southern California, it was 70 almost all the time.
Yeah.
The only thing you ever have to worry about is occasionally if it rained. That was it. So coming to Utah, totally different. Arizona, it's one thing. It's either hot or less than hot. So
most of my experience outside of Utah is in the Midwest, and they have the same thing.
Yeah.
So.
But where it comes to Utah, that's not as appealing relative to what you believe in or what you do is the LDS Church and by extension the government because of such. We're not a dry state by any mean, but we are so limited in alcohol and how they handle alcohol. And myself and Tom are both drinkers. Hence, we did almost 2 months worth of a podcast of nothing but whiskey. It was hard. Like some of the whiskey we had to go acquire, we actually had to go out of state to go acquire.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So in Utah, like you can't go get if you want a bottle, say Jameson, you can't just go to Walmart and buy it.
Wait, you guys don't have drive-thrus?
No.
No.
Honestly, though, that tripped me out.
Kind of sounds very similar to our area, though, Nick. In Northeast Ohio, weather changes every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
I grew up in a small town that was dry, I'm not a drinker
Same.
myself,
True.
but in order to buy any alcohol, you had to drive a couple towns over. So I mean, Ohio, Utah, pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, I spent some time in Chicago, which is not too far from you guys, and or depending on what part of Ohio you're at. And there was varying seasons, but it was never like it never got over 100 in Chicago. And but Chicago is also the only place I ever lived in where I had both a tornado warning and a blizzard warning in the same week.
Yeah.
That sounds like Ohio.
Wisconsin. There was I was in La Crosse, Wisconsin for the summer one time, and there was a couple times it was 100 degrees and like 70% humidity, and that was rough. And the winters out there are terrible. There's like there's like this cold draft that comes from the Arctic Circle. So like Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan are like the three coldest areas in the entire world, apparently. Well, I guess, I don't know, civilized world. Entire country, I don't know.
Details.
It's comparable to Russia. I don't know. I don't fact check me. But they get snow like crazy, and yeah, just it's wild out there. In Wisconsin, like they're bananas over their alcohol. When I was in La Crosse, I think there was like a quarter-mile radius in downtown that had like 125 bars, and it has the most bars per capita in the entire country. They have the world's largest six-pack there, which is basically just a brewery with 6 large silos that they painted into six-packs.
I thought it was Ryan Gosling.
And then they also have the biggest October festival in the country, second biggest in the world. The biggest one is in Germany somewhere. They fill up the fire trucks with beer and spray everyone out of the fire trucks.
That's great.
I mean, if that's not heaven.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, this all happened while you were on your mission, right?
Mission?
Yes. For the LDS Church.
Yeah, this was before I could appreciate it because I didn't drink back then. Obviously.
Yes.
That's hilarious. All right, guys, what do you say we put our debate pants on?
You guys are wearing pants?
Well,
They gotta put them on.
that
We don't
actually
have
is
pants.
debatable in itself, right? No, but I thought it would be a fun little topic for tonight. Trying to decide what the best genre of movie and or TV shows, or heck, we can even throw video games in there if we want. Between superheroes, fantasy, or science fiction. So I've been talking a lot. So Nick, why don't you start us off? And yeah, just let us know maybe some of your favorites from each genre, if you don't want to start like right out the gate with your pick.
Okay, I can do this. I've been thinking about it for a whole like 30 minutes. So
Nick is the Brian of our podcast.
yeah, I was thinking that when you said that.
30 minutes? That's like way more prep work than I ever do.
I do while Mike does all the talking. I'm like thinking about, 5 minutes before the episode starts, I'm like, wait, what are we talking about again?
Dude, he literally says that every episode before we start recording.
Yeah, I do too.
What do we do tonight? How does this work?
What did we talk about last week again?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Superheroes, fantasy, or sci-fi? Well, I'm gonna come out and say out of superheroes, probably some of my favorite stuff there is the Dark Knight trilogy, The Boys, a recent addition there. I just caught myself thinking the other day, Mike, I forgot to tell you, but I cannot wait for The Boys season 3 to come on. Because I just really missed that show to the point where I might watch season 1 and 2 again.
That show is definitely going to get a companion series.
For sure.
It just feels some sort of just like constant jaw drop. effect that like once you have it and then it's gone, it's like I'm missing that in my life. Like, why am I not just being shocked all the time?
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's kind of where I sit there. I mean, obviously, I think I generally enjoy all the superhero stuff, but nothing. I'm not head over heels for that at large. Fantasy, obviously a great one there. Obviously, Lord of the Rings, all the Warcraft lore. To me, that's just a really solid base that builds a lot of things up in every direction. Then obviously sci-fi, what can you do with that? I mean, there's just endless possibilities there. And I also think it's genre blending of all of the other two. So I am going to go with sci-fi just out the gate here early as my favorite, because in my opinion, it blends all three or the other two together. And then you get this completely new thing that you can do anything with. Because in sci-fi, I mean, we can just talk about Star Wars for an hour.
I'm
We
down
like
with
the
it.
Star Boys.
Yeah, I mean, you got like in Star Wars, you have Jedi. They're basically superheroes.
Yeah.
You know, you've got the fantasy in there. Jedi are also basically wizards. So I'm just gonna put all my eggs in one basket and I'm gonna have, how's that go? Have my cake and eat it too, and just go sci-fi. It's the
You
number
have
one.
cake? I want cake.
I know.
The cake is a lie.
Just tubs of Cool Whip.
All right,
Bring Mike in with a Portal reference.
I mean, that's exactly how I expected your answer to play out. I definitely expected superheroes to barely make the cut. Then fantasy, maybe close to sci-fi, but sci-fi like on top, 100%. So no surprise there. What about you? We'll go with Brian.
All right. Well, like Mike, or excuse me, like Nick, I am a fan of all of them. I'm a huge fan of Star Wars. So I'm definitely down with the sci-fi mixture with fantasy. I love Lords of the Ring, but I love the sci-fi stuff too, dealing with like aliens and so many great other sci-fi shows, Blade Runner and so much. So many great TV shows and things like that too. But your boy, I mean, he's a superhero fan that you can't see the mic's in the way, right there. I'm all about the superhero, and as you mentioned about being genre blended, superheroes, that's literally their game. Like so much so that it's no longer just like superheroes as their own genre. Superheroes have a subgenre of all of the other genres. You have superheroes that are like horror movies, superhero movies. You have ones that are sci-fi superhero movies like Guardians of the Galaxy and everything else, and it keeps going on from there. You have spy thrillers with like Captain America, Winter Soldier. Yeah. So superhero movies is where it's at, man. I mean, that is everything that you'll ever need to know, especially now that the way that both the MCU is telling it and so many other things, like you mentioned, The Boys and everything else. Watchmen. Oh my God, Watchmen is so fantastic as a drama. Like, there's so many great things that you can do with sci-fi as its base drama and add on from there. You can't touch it with anything else. I love Star Wars. I love Star Trek, but sci-fi doesn't touch what superhero movies are doing now.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, especially with the MCU. I mean, with how they are sci-fi, and my favorite MCU movies are the sci-fi ones.
Guardian of the Galaxy and such.
Guardian of the Galaxy, Thor, as that all blends in. And then obviously, the Infinity War and all that with the ships and just the ridiculous battles. That's as pretty science fiction-y as it can come. And then, yeah. So, yeah, that's a great point.
Superhero movies now are doing a really good job at really blending all the genres. Like just take Thor, for example. That's sci-fi and fantasy and superhero
and Shakespearean in the first couple ones.
The first one was Shakespearean.
Yeah.
Was it not Hamlet? What was it based on?
No, Hamlet would probably be close enough.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought there was something else, but yeah, no. I remember the writer went out and said that he was basing it off of Shakespeare. work. But like, you know, it's Norse mythology, right? Like,
Yeah.
Ancient mythology is just, in my opinion, some of the most fascinating stuff to study and read about, learn about. Some of the coolest stories that have affected humanity as early as we know come from these myths.
Yep.
So yeah, like superhero stuff is incredible what it's doing, but it's still so young, and it's still, I would say Marvel has found its footing with superhero movies, but everyone else is still trying to figure it out. DC is close. They've had some solid movies, but they've also had they've had a lot more missteps than hits. And I think they're still playing around with that, trying to figure it out. I kind of wanted to throw in a ringer here because there's 4 of us. If that's okay.
Sure.
I'm a horror fan.
Okay.
Here's the thing. Sci-fi, I love sci-fi, but what I have found watching sci-fi is I like it more for the aesthetic. I like the setting, I like the technology, but often because there's so much spectacle put into it, it's so often lacking in character development, in the human experience, in a relatable story.
Tom doesn't like Star Wars, by the way.
Take Star Wars, for example. I want to like Star Wars. I watch them all. I always do. I haven't seen the newest season of The Mandalorian yet, so I'm a season behind. But like, I've seen everything else. I want to like it. And I actually like the originals. There are things that I like about the new ones, even the prequels. But the thing is like again, there's more spectacle than character development, and there's so much that's lacking in the writing. And it, like, honestly, what they've been doing with Marvel lately has just been, or not Marvel, excuse me, with Star Wars has really been shoddy. I did not like season 1 of The Mandalorian. In fact, I hated it. And Brian and I have fought over this many times.
So many times.
And I can ramble for hours on why it's total shit. But the thing about horror allows people to connect to a very relatable experience. Everyone experiences fear. From the moment you're born to the moment you die, we experience fear, whether it's fear of death, fear of loss, fear of pain, crazy experiences, fear of failing a test. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, everyone experiences these things. I tried to find this quote. I couldn't find it. I believe it was Wes Craven that said something like this. It might have been John Carpenter. It was one of those two for sure. But they said that the unique thing about the horror genre is it allows people to come together as a community and experience a human experience together in a safe environment and face something that they wouldn't otherwise be able to face, to be able to grow as people. And I was so inspired by that. Before I heard that, like, I could barely handle like The Sixth Sense, like I wasn't watching really scary stuff. But now, like, that's almost all I watch. I watch horror movies regularly. And I know some people would probably call me a psychopath for that, but hey, they're watching true crime thrillers, so who's really the really.
What's the difference?
I mean, murder porn is huge right now, so.
So I guess I think it comes down to that. I think I was so inspired by that quote. Because of that, I've been able to face so many challenges and fears in my life. And I've done a lot of that through watching movies. But because I've been able to face that in a safe, silly way, like, I've been able to actually challenge myself and overcome real fears as well. Overcome my divorce, for example. Like, there's so many things. Overcome fear of riding a motorcycle, just stupid stuff. But I feel like I'm a much better person. I'm much stronger than I've ever been. And I owe a lot of that to that genre. And so that's why I really, really like horror movies.
And it's a good choice. I mean, there's tons of like relatable emotions, the fear of being attacked by a zombie in a hockey mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very relatable. Look, I mean, if you've never been stalked, actually, no, a friend of mine that I grew up, well, I shouldn't say a friend, someone that I grew up with, we were friends when we were growing up. I haven't talked to her in
Since the restraining order?
Since we were growing up. No, for real. For real, she was stalked, and actually she had her hearing today, and they let the guy go without any charges, unfortunately. But like, this is something that happens. So like, yeah, you balk at it. But, shit happens. There's some weird fuckers out there.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Excuse his language.
I think that's the cool thing about storytelling in like whatever form it is that through these stories and through the characters that you're following and watching, you're able to kind of process your own like emotions and feelings, like exactly like what you're saying. But the best part is you get to do it through somebody else while being entertained. But no, that's probably the most thought out and in-depth reason for somebody liking the horror genre that I've ever heard. And it was actually really cool.
He spent hours writing this up.
I spent 15 minutes trying to find the quote, and then Brian showed up, and I was like, shit, we got to set up.
Because you didn't totally send me a text with all of that in it, right?
No, I sent you a completely different quote from John Carpenter that invalidates your argument from Halloween versus Friday the 13th. Yeah, no, wait. Even after the debate has been judged, I'm still sending shit like, you're wrong, fucker.
I'm sorry, everyone. He's very salty today.
It's all good. Sometimes, you just need to get it out. So, so what's like some of your favorite horror shows or movies?
Good question. Like Freddy Krueger definitely changed the game for me. Wes Craven, obviously, probably his finest work. That and Scream, the two incredible franchises there. I don't know. I watch so much, like even a lot of the Korean stuff, which isn't quite horror but still plays with the horror element. Like, I Saw the Devil was freaking bananas. That movie is nuts. I don't know. Like, if I had to pick, probably just a favorite franchise, it would probably be Nightmare on Elm Street, and then it would probably be closely followed by Friday the 13th, only because it's so campy and silly that it's really more of a comedy. Yes. And so like it has the horror element, which I like, and then it's just so sticky, it's just slapstick.
Yeah. That's why Jason X is the funniest Jason ever.
Yeah. And like a lot of people just think I'm crazy because usually when I'm watching horror movies, half the time I am laughing. I will say the stuff that actually gets under my skin where I'm not usually just like laughing and just, just all bubbly and giggly is definitely like the paranormal stuff. Growing up LDS Christian, like possessions and that kind of stuff. It really hits a taboo that like, even though I'm not very religious anymore, like it's still just deeply ingrained in my roots. I think those are the most terrifying. I would say the two movies that stuck with me the longest and fucked me up the longest, but also that I think I grew the most from would be The Babadook, number one. Australian horror film. Incredible movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but it's at face value, it's kind of generic, but when you really think about it, it's probably the deepest horror movie that I've ever seen about grief and overcoming that as a single parent and a child. Incredible movie. I cannot sing high enough praises to that. The second one would be The Conjuring, just because it was so effective at how they produced the scares. I think The Babadook definitely resonated with me a lot longer just because it was so thought-provoking. But The Conjuring was a close second just because of how effective James Wan was in making that movie. So,
hey, my boy James Wan. Yeah. No, that's really interesting. Two questions. Well, one's not really a question, more of like a shameless plug. Don't feel like you're a psychopath go back and listen to 2 episodes from our October playlist, Analog Horror and ARGs. If you need to feel like less of a psychopath, check those ones out and you'll realize how much of a psychopath this guy is for the insane stuff that I watch on YouTube all the time. Because it's kind of crazy. But have you seen the Haunting of Hill House on Netflix?
I haven't watched it yet. So I will admit, like I actually have a hard time with long format shows. So I'm really slow to watch shows when they come out.
Mm-hmm.
Like The Boys, for example, I've only seen season 1 and I absolutely adored everything about it, but I haven't seen season 2 yet. I have a hard time committing to that time commitment. Whereas like a 90-minute horror movie, I can throw on while I'm falling asleep, have a beer, get a little tipsy, laugh my ass off and pass out.
Mm-hmm.
You're missing out on evil, hot Nazi chicks.
It is on my list. I've heard wonderful things about that. Wasn't there another one?
Yes, The Haunting of Bly Manor came out this October.
It wasn't as good.
It wasn't as good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was definitely a different feel. I still thought it was good, but definitely under Hill House. But if you get around to, if you get the itch to watch a show, I think that's a pretty strong horror drama. It's one of those ones that hits you on multiple levels and not just like tries to capitalize on cheap jump scares or like your typical horror tropes. That one was a really good and deep horror show.
But check it out. The other one that I've been told, just based on what you just said, was damn it, what was it called?
We can wait.
It's rather recent. The guy that made Midsummer, the first one that he made.
Hereditary.
Hereditary. Yeah. I've heard similar things about that. I haven't seen it yet, but it's on my list. So
it's a lot better than the trailers make it look.
Have you seen Midsummer?
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, dude, that's a good one.
I haven't seen. I guess of the last 2 years of horror, I haven't seen much that's come out. But I've been spending a lot of time watching a lot of the classics, a lot of the even like I went back and watched like the original Universal ones, like Invisible Man.
Nice.
Creature from the Black Lagoon. I've been watching a lot of that kind of stuff, and then I've been slowly plugging my way through the Hellraiser franchise. I think I've got like 3 left.
Sorry, you're talking to the guy who literally just started watching Star Wars, so don't feel bad.
The first 2 Hellraisers are amazing products of their time.
Before you go on, I have to ask, how are you just getting around to Star Wars?
So there are certain things that I like to channel my inner hipster and like not like get into because everyone else thinks they're cool. And Star Wars was one of those things until Mandalorian came around, and even more specifically because I wasn't that into season 1, but then when we started the podcast and did the Mandalorian companion series, having Nick like explain all of the like Star Wars-y stuff happening, I was like, oh crap, I actually really like this. Now I must watch everything. So
it's part about the Star Wars universe is the video games. God damn, the video games have been great from like the beginning.
Unless you're made by EA.
Well, I haven't played it, but
Fallen Order is kind of cool though.
It is true.
EA didn't really make that though.
Yeah, they just kind of published it.
Yeah.
Pod Racer, Shadows of the Republic, like N64 Star Wars games.
That was Shadows of the Empire, by the way, not Shadows of the Republic.
That's right. Knights of the Republic, Shadows of the Empire,
yes.
And Jedi Knight Outcast on the PC. Those
1 and 2, and then there was the Academy games.
Yeah, those games are all incredible.
Yeah. I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, not at all.
Oh man.
Last thing I will say about horror real quick. From a video game standpoint, they're also my favorite video games. The Silent Hill games, the Resident Evil games, a lot of the PlayStation exclusives, like one that came out recently, Until Dawn. That's not that recent. It was like 8 years ago. But the survival horror, again, it's like it sucks me in so much more effectively than anything else.
I'm trying to get Nick to play Dead Space.
Oh, do it! It's so good.
I've started it. I'm like 45 minutes in, but 15, like I can do like 15 minutes at a time before I just need to like go lay down.
Yeah, that one's pretty pretty intense.
I mean,
the best way to play
2 is still the game that like affected me. I screamed many times during that game in front of college roommates.
oh yeah.
Silent Hill 2 is still the scariest thing.
The best way to play any horror game is as a watch party. So you have to do it on streaming so that people can watch, laugh, and enjoy you, like your freaking outness. That's the best way you're going to get subscribers.
Maybe I should do that.
There you
I
go.
should play
Coming
Dead Space
soon.
and do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Showboys video game
Well, I
night.
mean-
Watch Nick crap his pants playing Dead Space.
I mean, one of my most memorable video games like growing up was playing Manhunt with one of my friends back in like junior high. That game was just insane. So no, yeah, definitely the horror plays well into like video games because you're just even that more connected. You're not just sitting there chilling, watching. You're moving around in this environment and literally about to die. Well, I was going to ask you though, how do you feel about when other genres like sci-fi, fantasy do the horror tropes, right? Where they kind of add that stuff in.
I love it. I wasn't going to bring up the horror initially, but then you said so well, like so articulately about sci-fi. I talked about it, and I was like, well, you kind of stole the words out of my mouth there, so I'm just going to talk about horror, because what I was going to do is talk about how sci-fi and horror, why sci-fi is the best, because it usually blends the best with horror. It makes the best the best setting. You know, you got Alien, you got Predator. Like, there's so much stuff that just blends sci-fi and horror together.
Sunshine.
I like the blending of genres. I think it just makes for better storytelling, and that's what I'm all about. Like, I like really well crafted stories and things. Because the thing is life is chaotic, and the more chaotic it is, the more you can pull from the hat, I guess, the better. So yeah, sci-fi horror is fantastic. There's fantasy horror that's amazing. Superhero horror, like maybe I guess the Blade movies aren't that scary, but
the first one's kind of terrifying at first, dude.
Like it's still definitely in the horror genre, but it's still a superhero. And then you got New Mutants. I haven't seen it yet.
Dude, it's so good.
But that's funny you bring that up, because I was going to ask if either of you guys have read any or ever got around to watching the new Swamp Thing show, or read any of the Swamp Thing comics. That's a pretty interesting blend of superhero and horror.
For sure.
We'll have to do another podcast with the group here, and we'll have to pick our favorite blend of genres, like favorite blended genre, and then debate that, because that seems a little bit even more.
I already know Nick's rom-coms. Episode over.
Still my idea. No, I seriously though, I'm a huge comic book fan in general, so I totally read a bunch of Swamp Thing and everything else. The TV show was all right. I wasn't like a huge fan of it. It's definitely better to watch it on HBO when it makes it back to there. But when it was on the DC Universe app, it was a lot better than what they're saying on CW, because they censor it. But it's not bad.
It yet. I was planning on getting to it, so that's good.
Yeah, Wes Craven did the original one.
Yeah,
and I enjoyed that one. Mind you, I was young. I was probably had to be early teens when that first came out.
Yeah,
but it wasn't bad.
I really enjoyed the New 52 run of Swamp Thing. It's pretty cool blend there. I also get into the Justice League Dark stuff, but that's like not so much horror, but it's got
I don't know. That can
its
get some pretty
moments here and
scary.
there. Yeah.
It's got some stuff in there, man. Especially when you go down the Constantine path with that.
Yeah.
But-
Ooh, I was gonna say we should have a debate because they did announce that John Wick, goddamn, Keanu Reeves.
John
Wick
Wick
will be
is the new
playing
Constantine.
Constantine.
Yeah.
Basically,
It would have been a better Constantine movie.
Keanu Reeves is set to come back for Constantine 2. However, if you saw the Constantine TV show, I forget the actor's name.
Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan actually did a phenomenal job.
Oh,
I think that would be a fantastic debate.
Oh yeah, like Matt Ryan by himself, dude. Like he is pretty much the Constantine guy. Like everything DC does now. So outside of the shows, all the animated movies, they're always him. The only thing recently that they've done that wasn't him was the audio book that they did with Neil Gaiman's Sandman, where they had it as Taron Egerton from Kingsman.
So didn't Matt Ryan pop in one of the Arrowverse shows as Constantine? Make a little.
He was so he was on Arrow for several episodes. He was on Legends of Tomorrow as a reoccurring character. In fact, the last 2 seasons have been primarily due to him being involved in it. He's like Matt Ryan's fantastic. I'm very sad because even the Constantine show that was on was actually really good. It just didn't get a lot of love.
Yeah, I would say of all of the, I mean, that wasn't on CW, but all of that genre of shows that came out around that time, I think that one was by far the best.
Yeah.
But the problem is it came out at the same time as Supernatural. Or no, Supernatural was already out.
It was out for years.
It was competing with Supernatural, and it's just like the fan base wasn't converting.
Well, it was the same problem with they had with Supergirl, where because it was both CBS, they didn't have like an idea what they were working with, so they kept moving it around and changing it different ways. It's just the fan base was so much more about Supergirl, so that's why they moved it to CW, relative to continuing the John Constantine story. I'm just happy that they did with Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah. With Arrow, I think it was either season 3 or season 4 that he was on there, on the island actually.
Yeah, they introduced him. Yeah, he was on the island first, and I think it was 4, maybe 5 on the season, and then they brought him around again towards the later end of the season, and then of course during the massive crossover during season 8. But he was a regular over the last 2 seasons of Legends of Tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah, I only saw the first season. I gave
I don't
all
sleep
those shows about 4 years ago. I couldn't take them butchering my job anymore.
Yeah, I was on the Arrowverse train for a while, and then started to get a little too teen angsty for me with old Oliver and Felicity, and I just couldn't handle it anymore.
And now you watch Star Wars cartoons.
Yep.
Dude,
now,
Star Wars cartoons. I
will
say the Star Wars cartoons are some of the best that best products they've come out with.
No, for sure. Clone Wars, Rebels, amazing. But like when I say I'm watching all of the Star Wars content, like I just finished the first season of the Resistance cartoon before I start the sequel trilogy, and that one doesn't hold up.
Well, you can go ahead and skip the side movie, The Caravan of Hope, or whatever it was with the Ewoks.
No. You have to watch Ewok Adventure and
yeah, dude.
Ewok Adventure 2.
That's on VHS at my parents' house somewhere.
They're so bad.
Oh man. All right. So if I'm recalling correctly, Nick, he chose sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
Brian chose superheroes.
Yes, sir.
Tom went off script and chose horror.
Yeah.
So it's up to. It's not really up to me to break any tie, but I could cause a 4-way tie if I so desired.
You won't do it.
You're right. I probably won't. But
I challenge you to do it, though. I want to see you dump the other genres for fantasy right now.
Okay. So, superheroes.
RPGs make the best fantasy games, period.
Yeah.
True. But there are multiple different kinds of RPGs, though. Like you You could have like a science fiction RPG. Anyways,
But the best ones are fantasy.
true. Hard to argue with that.
There's
So
a reason why Skyrim was made on every possible aspect.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that my like robot vacuum has the ability of playing Skyrim on it.
I went through and I put together a little list of movies or shows that either I've watched or were just like I haven't watched but are like really notable in the genre. So for superheroes, you know, obviously Dark Knight trilogy, you got the MCU, you have the Joker. I'm singling that out of the DC movies as like the good one. Then you have like the X-Men, Deadpool, Logan, you have The Boys, one of my favorite shows. The Marvel series on Netflix, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Punisher, Luke Cage, Iron Fist. What was the other one? Defenders?
Defenders, yep. That was their combo one.
We don't talk about that one.
Defenders wasn't bad.
It was.
It was not bad.
It was.
You have the Gotham show, which was okay. The Flash was probably my favorite of the Arrowverse shows. And then, you know, Smallville I've never seen, but has quite the following.
I've watched every 10 seasons.
Brian
I'm an apologist for superhero shows, okay?
apologist, you're proud.
I will say if I was asked this question like 3 years ago, I think it would be a no-brainer for superheroes. But I think actually that might be like number 3 for me. Then
where did Justice League touch you so we can tell the police?
Okay, so full disclosure.
That's his fate.
You have the dog.
I love
DC.
DC is my favorite. Okay, but that doesn't mean that like I'm blind to how bad some of the DC movies have been. I forced myself to like Justice League.
I can relate to that.
I am super excited for the director's cut coming soon.
March 23rd.
Too, but I'm sure it's going to be just as bad.
Yeah, I mean, there should be no excuse. He's had, 4 years to mull over all the mistakes that were made between him and Whedon.
Oh, and
who knows at this
that, and they're supposedly doing it as like a
4-hour movie now. It's not.
It's not a 4-hour movie. It's a six episode, 2-hour long.
They just barely announced that it's going to be
a
singular movie.
Oh, did they?
That's like
4-hour runtime pre-credits.
Now I know what I'm doing during work.
Yeah. Batman vs Superman is one of my favorite movies. I don't care what anyone says. I know that's not widely enjoyed, but I love it.
Listening to that episode where you were talking about that, and I was like, "Why?"
And you're like, "I'm never listening to another episode again."
No. I just want to stop it and be like, "Let's talk details here."
Well, the easy answer is Mike's mom's name is Martha.
Yeah, dude, nailed it. How did you know? I mean, I guess it all adds up.
I mean, you saved it. Wait, I think because you also said Scott Pilgrim versus the World, right? Or was that Nick? Okay, yeah, no, yeah. So
I don't know anything about superhero stuff at all.
I was able to forgive you because you gave so much credit to Scott Pilgrim, which is one of the greatest movies of all time.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Simply probably the best movie of all time.
Yeah.
I don't know if I go that far, but it is fantastic.
Oh man,
Endgame is the best movie of all time.
God, Endgame wasn't even as good as Infinity War.
Oh, Endgame's so good, dude. Culmination of 23 movies.
I'm not saying it's bad, but Infinity War was better.
God. Someone needs to separate those guys. I think they're sitting way too close for this heated of an argument.
We're always fighting. We're like a married couple.
But yeah, I'd say if this was 3 or 4 years ago, obvious choice for me would be superheroes. Moving on to fantasy, we got Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, Harry Potter. Then we're going old school. I loved Labyrinth with David Bowie. I loved the first Neverending Story. You can throw The Princess Bride in there. Then, you have the Game of Thrones. You have Supernatural. You have The Witcher. Just to name a few. those are pretty strong candidates
One of the
there.
most important.
I know it's triggering me right now.
What?
You missed one of the most important old school fantasy movies of all time.
My favorite old school movie of all time. It's probably one of my favorite movies of all time. It's a fantasy movie. Is my mic won't stay with me? Is Willow. I love
I
Willow.
figured you were gonna say Willow.
I love Willow.
It's a great movie. You know what? It is probably the best of. I want to say Jean-Claude Van Damme. That's not his name. What is wrong with me? I'm so bad at mixing details. What is his name?
Are you meaning Val Kilmer?
Yeah, it's not even close. I don't know why I was thinking Jean-Claude Van Damme.
This is amazing.
I love how he knew. You mean Val Kilmer? You idiot.
This is our life. This is how we live.
Amazing.
You're so fucking far away.
All right, Brian's out for the rest of the show.
Oh my god, that's awesome. But then you get down to sci-fi, and you have Star Wars, you have your Star Trek, the Alien franchise, Interstellar, my favorite, Cloverfield. You got Annihilation, The Fifth Element, Arrival, Back to the Future, Terminator, RoboCop, Matrix, Black Mirror, Rick and Morty, Firefly, Stranger Things, Westworld,
Jeez.
X-Files, Doctor Who, Battlestar Galactica. I mean, you can't argue with sci-fi. I really, it's too hard to pick against sci-fi at this point, especially with my recent obsession with Star Wars and everything that Star Wars is.
It has arguably been the most influential genre of all time.
Oh, for sure. The reason we have cell phones is because of Star Trek.
Yeah.
So
Confirmed.
yeah.
Yeah. So has been.
I'd have to say, yeah, sci-fi is my pick, and I just think, kind of with the points earlier, the aesthetics are cool. Just the idea of being able to travel through space, see other planets, you have all the crazy technology, and the fact that sci-fi is just such like a wide net that you can capture lots of things in. Like, one of my favorite shows is Black Mirror, and I would consider Black Mirror to be sci-fi. And it kind of also, plays into Tom's point a little bit of, hitting that horror note. But yeah, I think sci-fi might be the winner.
Well,
Dang.
everyone's allowed to have their opinion, even if it's wrong. So
Look, I can't say I disagree. I brought up horror because I wanted more to talk about. Because I do feel like sci-fi is kind of the easy cop-out answer. I mean,
Yeah.
arguably fantasy is the next closest. Superhero genre has only been around since the very late 90s.
Yep.
There was like
Well,
Dolph Lundgren. I can't think of details. Dolph Lundgren's Punisher.
which was also in the 90s. It was in the early 90s, like 91. Before that, though, in the late 70s, early 80s, there was the trial of the Incredible Hulk, which was a TV movie. Of course, there was all the TV shows that were all superhero stuff. Incredible Hulk, Spider-Man in Japan.
Yeah, I would dare say superhero cartoons.
Well, these were live action.
But I'm saying even cartoons starting from the 60s, like the Spider-Man from the 60s. Like, I would say the cartoons of superheroes have probably actually matched the influence of sci-fi for people today.
Well, if you want to go that far, you can go back as far as like the Max Fleischer Superman, which was in the 50s.
Yeah, the point is the cartoons.
I'm trying to drop my knowledge boner here real quick. Okay, let me go with it.
But as far
those
as
are good points.
superheroes go, yeah, it's a very young genre.
Yes.
For
What
film.
about Batman in like the 60s though?
Yes, where Batman spent about
Love it.
15 minutes trying to run with a bomb to throw off a shore.
Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong.
That's superhero.
Love it. But nobody took it seriously. And in fact, I keep thinking I want to say Mayor West.
Adam West?
Adam West. Yes, from Family Guy.
This is what I have to deal with.
Adam West. I have the worst problem of just crossing every detail. Adam West, like, he was actually kind of kicked out of Hollywood for a long time because people thought that he was taking it too seriously. Like, he understood the joke. He was in on the joke. But people didn't think he was in on the joke. He did too good with the joke.
Yep.
And he was actually kicked out of Hollywood for a long time. But that just shows, like, how little people put into the genre. People just didn't take it seriously.
Yeah.
Until recently, until X-Men, actually.
No, I'd actually go before that. There was a huge uproar from comic book fans and everything else in 1989 when the original Tim Burton Batman came out, because everyone was freaking out that Mr. Mom was going to play Batman as Michael Keaton, and he's arguably one of the best Batmans, if not the best Batman of all time. And that's in '89.
It's going to be in a Batman Beyond movie here soon.
God, I hope so.
No, he has been announced as DC's moving forward.
He's in there for the Flash stuff, but I don't think that they've said anything official about the Batman Beyond thing yet, though.
It's maybe not official yet. But they said they do want to stick with him. But after the first one,
I'm still trying to catch my breath from earlier. Hold on.
Nobody took the next two were not good. Next three.
No, Batman Returns was fantastic. It's the two after that wasn't as good.
The Batman Returns was not fantastic.
And just so you know, the guy that played played Batman in the third one was Val Kilmer.
I know.
Okay.
And we're back.
Full circle.
Yes.
Yeah, no, but again, like, people weren't taking it seriously. It was still a very campy. Like, those movies are very campy.
The aesthetics was very much more
in the same sense of like Clash of the Titans.
But let me ask you a question. One of the greatest animated.
This is what happens at work.
It's true. One of the greatest animated cartoons of all time, arguably, is Batman the Animated Series, correct?
Yes.
Which was greenlit in 1990 to come out in 1991 because of Tim Burton's Batman, the first one with Michael Keaton.
I would actually say the best animated cartoon series.
You'd be wrong.
Is either Spider-Man from 1992,
93. He came out right after X-Men. And X-Men came out in 92.
X-Men. Those two.
Way to be wrong.
The last season of X-Men wasn't good. It was actually terrible. But those two, for me, are actually the most influential cartoons I watched as a child.
But if you want to talk about the worst seasons of TV animated series wise, that's the two after that run of Spider-Man, which is Spider-Man Unlimited, which he goes to space and spends most of the time in space.
I liked that series. You watch your mouth.
Sorry, tangent. Proceed.
No, it's all good. But so I'm not the last person who has an opinion here. We actually quick plug for our Discord server, which, by the way, we just launched a Discord server this week. And you can find the link in our Facebook or Instagram bios or on our Linktree page. But yeah, we opened up our Discord to the public to build a little community where we can have these conversations all week long and not just on our podcast. And so I threw out the topic for tonight. And one of the members of our Discord, Bianca, or as we call her, B, she commented in and she said, out of those three, definitely sci-fi. However, this is where we have a tie. Horror is my favorite genre. And sci-fi movies often use a lot of suspense and thriller themes. Plus, I love the creativity and the originality that comes with sci-fi. It's so fun to see the impossible become possible after teams of artists get to work together on an idea. My absolute fave is the Alien franchise. Also, big fan of The Fifth Element, Aeon Flux, and Interstellar. I'm going to count that as a vote for horror, even though she listed, The Fifth Element, Interstellar, Aeon Flux. But as she's commented on before, the Aliens franchise is one of her favorites, and I definitely consider that a horror franchise. So, Tom, do you feel vindicated?
Yes, I feel at least a little justified for taking a full side tangent, derailing the show just a tiny bit.
It's all right. B's got your back.
Yes.
Just to put it out there, Aeon Flux was a comic book first before it was a movie.
It was indeed.
There you go. You heard it here. Probably not first, but you also heard it here. So, yeah, I mean, I think that was a pretty fun conversation that we had there. Sounds like we ended in a tie ourselves here between horror and sci-fi.
There we go.
But I don't think there's really, an actual loser in this conversation, because all of these genres are great and have provided endless hours of entertainment for us all. One thing before we, conclude our episode here, one thing I forgot to ask you guys when we were talking to you guys about about your show, how did you guys come up with the name Be Hero Media / Be Hero Fights?
Yeah, so Be Hero, I came up with that idea. So if you've seen our YouTube videos, you can tell I'm an Apple fan. I'm not a fanatic, but I like Apple products. I have an Android phone.
There's no middle ground.
I have an Android phone, but no one makes a better laptop than Apple, period. Second to none. Sorry.
All right, this has been Showboys. No, I'm just kidding.
So anyways, like I was really inspired by like iPod, iMac, that kind of stuff. Just the simplicity of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to make something that was just incredibly simple. And again, at that time, I wanted to compete with like Spartan Race and Tough Mudder and that kind of stuff. I wanted to make an obstacle course race. And my thought was like, when it comes to fitness, the only people more fit than Spartans are heroes. So Be Hero. And it just kind of,
yeah.
I kind of ran with it. And then Be Hero Fights, at first we were actually thinking about naming it This or That. But there's a board game called This or That. I think it's a board game or maybe a card game.
It was something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So we ended up deciding not to try and cross the streams.
Yeah. We fished a couple ideas around for it and then eventually landed on Be Hero Fights.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I like it.
And we're both huge comic book fans, huge fans of superheroes, the genre and everything. And then fights just kind of made sense. Like the fights really is the point. It was probably about maybe 8 or 10 episodes in. I was like, maybe we should change our name to just Be Fights. But we just kind of decided to stick with Be Hero.
I was really pushing when we were trying to figure out names, calling it Mass Debate, but he didn't want to go with that.
Yep,
close second there.
Close second for sure.
Well, yeah. So why don't you guys go ahead and plug your stuff? Let us know where everyone can find you.
Sounds great. You can find us online. So facebook.com/BeHeroFights, Facebook.com/BeHeroMedia, Instagram.com/BeHeroMedia.
On Twitter at Be Hero Fights. And of course, you can find everything as it's plugged right here on BeHeroMedia.com. We also do blogs and everything weekly, and as well as you can find all of our stuff about our stuff on YouTube and our podcast.
Yep,
that's right. You guys did just start a YouTube channel, so if you're on YouTube, go subscribe to Be Hero Media.
Please, we need the money.
Yes. But no, they put on a great show. It's really fun. It's a really cool idea for a podcast, and all their topics are super entertaining to listen to two people argue over for 40 minutes.
There's something for everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, we've argued all variety of things from whiskey to old school video games to comic book characters to movies.
Fast food.
Fast food twice.
Yeah.
Got it all.
There will be more fast food.
Yes.
So a tradition I started with the last interview that we had, which was the first interview. So I guess it's not really much of a tradition yet, but we're establishing a tradition here with our guests. Before we leave, we like to ask, what's watching? What are you guys watching these days?
Oh, I mean, like I said, I've been working my way through the Hellraiser movies. Outside of that, I just finished Rick and Morty season 4.
Nice.
Which was it was amazing. I did not expect it to be as good as it was. And then I'm about halfway through the latest season of Archer.
Nice. I'm currently working my way through the live action Rick and Morty, also known as Community. Great show. If you've never seen it, it's amazing. You should definitely watch it. What about you, Brian? What are you currently watching?
Of course, WandaVision. That's a necessity right now. I recently just finished off watching that Nicolas Cage thing on Netflix, the History Swears.
That looks really funny.
That's so good. It's only 6 episodes right now, but it is so good. I'm also a huge anime fan, so I'm catching back up on Sword Art Online, My Hero Academia, ones like that. As I mentioned before, I don't sleep, so I watch stuff constantly. I go back and watch old movies like Willow.
Starring Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yes.
I'm out.
So, yeah, like on the weekly, I watch a variety of things. I watch a lot of YouTube. I'm also a huge football fan, so I've been watching lots of football. And, of course, wrestling. Get ready to watch the Royal Rumble coming up on Sunday. So,
do you watch much UFC?
I watched a little bit here or there. I caught some of the Conor McGregor fight that just happened, which was insane that he's the one that lost.
I know that was completely unexpected.
Spoilers.
I was blindsided by that.
So is he apparently.
Right.
He is now almost as big a meme as Bernie Sanders.
Yes.
But yeah, I also watch my own stuff. I mentioned earlier I do professional wrestling. I'm actually with a promotion right now known as Devotion Championship Wrestling, and we're on TV. We're on the Fight app, so you can find us there all the time. In Utah, we're on the CW as a local channel. Of course, we have our own YouTube stuff too. So
yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for coming on and telling us about your show and your website and everything. It was really cool to get to know you guys a little better. And kind of get into our I don't even know if I can call what we did a debate. I feel like
it was a friendly discussion.
Our attempt at it would tarnish the word debate. So,
I already changed my answer.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to get to talk to you guys. If you've never heard of Be Hero Fights, go check out their show. It's really fun. Go subscribe, follow, get on their social medias. Which reminds me, you should do the same for us.
yes, definitely.
Yeah.
If you're listening or watching currently on our YouTube live stream now, go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. It really helps us out, helps us grow. We're currently trying to hit 100 subscribers on YouTube so we can get a fancy custom URL to make it much easier to find our channel. We're about halfway there, so subscribe if you're listening. Yeah, check out our social media pages. You can catch the audio version of our podcast on all the big platforms: Apple, Google, Spotify, Anchor. You can find all of the links to these on our Linktree page, linktr.ee/showboyspodcast. And like I mentioned a little bit ago, we did just open our Discord server up to the public. Come join. It's free. It's fun. You get to know us a little better, get to know your fellow listeners, and join in on all of the fun, hopefully fun and entertaining and probably really dumb conversations we have all day long on Discord.
Memes.
Memes, big memes. But along with our Discord, we do have, some small perks. If you listen to our newscast series of episodes, we've been posting a log of all of the articles that we compile for that show. After those episodes release, obviously we can't cover all of the articles we find in our show because we're trying to keep it short. So those logs include all of the fun articles that we found, and that's one cool perk that you can enjoy as a member of our Discord. But yeah, until next time, have a good one.
Peace out. Good meeting you guys.
You too.